Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Kegley. You've had a lot of me and Ked and Brad and everybody over the last week and a half, but we've got yet another road victory for the Illini. Ked, maybe not you can't win every game by 40, but still you go into a opponent's stadium, even though it's the Palestra, and you end up coming out with a victory. That to me is a big deal in the Big Ten.
It's a big deal, Mike. It is. Do never apologize for a win. I'm sorry to say that, but this was a lackluster performance. Was not impressed with the outcome. Was great. Just I wasn't really impressed with the officiating. I know I asked you to keep my mouth shut, and I'll do the best I can until someone else brings it up. This game was a lot closer than what it should have been. I think if Keaton Walker would have had a chance to play, I think it wouldn't have been as close as it was, if that makes any sense. But at the end of the day, it's a win column, especially against a team that's had your number. Penn State has had Illinois' number. I mean, I don't know if they were correct on the broadcast, but they said they had won 4 or 5 against the Illini. So a win is a win at this point, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, the issue is the stadium that didn't have anybody in it. And I got to be honest with you, Penn State's been on such a rough road basketball wise. I'm not necessarily, I'm not blaming their fans for not getting too excited about the team, and they also thought they were going to be going to the CFP, and that became a pipe dream in football. So it's been a rough year for Penn State fans.
It has been. You know what? And if you're an Illinois fan, it's great because things are good for Illinois right now. If you're an Illinois fan of sports in general, because they're things seem to be on the up and up for the Illinois football program. So, Illinois athletic program. Penn State is Penn State. They have a great tradition in their football program, so I expect them to bounce back. You're not going to see a 6-6 Penn State team very often, so I'm not really worried about them at this point.
Yeah, let's go through real quick, just through some of the numbers for folks who don't have a stat sheet in front of them. Illinois ends up winning this 73-65. Merkovich with a double-double, 13 points, 10 rebounds. Stojakovic with 12 points, 6 boards. Thought he displayed a lot more effort on the defensive end, in my opinion. Boswell, 18 points, 4 boards. Tomislav, probably the biggest question mark is how he's feeling. 0 for 3 with 2 rebounds and 4 fouls in 17 minutes. Wagler, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in only 20 minutes because of foul trouble. You had Lee, who played 1 minute, so he got zeros across the board, but he did manage to get a foul, so he did get in the record book. Humrickhouse, 5 points, 4 boards. I thought he had a couple key boards, a nice three-pointer on the run or on the move that he got. Jake Davis, 3 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Big Z, 6 points, 10 rebounds. Was nice to see there. Petrovic got in 0 for 1, but no turnovers in 4 minutes.
It's a start.
It is a start. Illinois shot 39%, Penn State 35%. From the three-point line, it was 22% for Illinois and 21% for Penn State. Not a good outing for either team. Field goal percentage, I did that, so I'm not going to do that again. Free throw percentage, 82 for Illinois, 64 for Penn State. If you're going to not be a good team, you ought to make your free throws. Turnovers, 10 for Illinois, 7 for Penn State. Points off of turnovers, Illinois 10, Penn State 8. Total rebounds, 48-37, Ked. That was a little closer than what I would have thought it was. The thing that really surprised me was Penn State had 14 offensive rebounds. Illinois had 13. Second chance points, then that translated to Penn State leading that category, 16-12. Bench points, again, Penn State 21-14. Points in the paint tied at 30. Fast break points, 10-7 Illinois. Blocks, 6 for Illinois, 1 for Penn State. Steals, Penn State had 7. Illinois had 4. An assist, Penn State was at 11. And so it gives you a little idea there. The plus minus was interesting tonight because, as you said, Wagler could have played a little more. Illinois was a plus 17, but he only played 20 minutes. I was actually glad that he got a little bit of a breather here. But then in plus minus, you had Tomislav at 7. You had Boswell at 6. You had both Stojakovic and Brandon Lee at 4. 3 for Hamrickhouse, 2 for Merkovic, and then you had 1 for Big Z and Petrovic, and -5 for Jake Davis. And I think the block shots, 5 for Big Z. So heck of a night there. Give you a little idea on the stat rundown, what we had there. Ked, Ivicic, Tomislav, I'm a little nervous.
Okay, I'm going to talk about, first of all, I want to thank Mrs. Ivicic and Papa Ivicic for having 2 of them, because the Tomislav is obviously struggling right now. And do you want to know why Kedrick E. Prince doesn't like the plus minus? Zonomir affected that game.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot tell you how many times Penn State saw him and they ran the other way. They pump fake. They went the other way. If that would have been Tomislav, because he doesn't try to block shots, if he would have got some of those minutes, probably would have scored and would have been a closer game. He is a legitimate rim protector, and I don't know the last time Illinois had a legitimate rim protector, and it wasn't Kofi because he was 7 foot tall. He was not a rim protector. Zonomir makes people change the direction, change the trajectory on their shots. So understand, to me,
Marcus
the way
Griffin
was he was a good defensive player. I would tell him he's on the phone. He's not a rim protector.
All right. Well, he's not here, so we can say whatever we want.
No, I would tell him. I mean, I just think he changed the game. And what you said is plus minus was 2. And here's the deal: I don't care who starts right now. I don't. But until Tommy is 100% effective, whether it means on the court, I would much rather see his brother Zonomir get most of the minutes. He will at least attempt to block a shot. He will at least attempt to go get a rebound. Tommy's just not able to do that. And if he's not shooting threes right now, getting the pick and pop, he's just not very, very effective right now at all.
Right. I totally agree. And there's a part of me that says, you're playing Rutgers on Thursday, same time as the CFP game. And we will be live for that game, of course. We will do, at a minimum, a post-game show. But I would really like to see I wouldn't even mind letting Tomislav get a break for the Iowa game on Sunday if you thought it would help him regather and regenerate himself a little bit. So as we go take a look at this, I thought Merkovic played really well tonight, and I thought he used his 40-year-old man trick, because he got quite a few rebounds, and I think it was just he got to the position and then he leans on people so that they can't get up in the air.
He played within himself tonight. I don't think he forced anything. I think Penn State had a good game plan. You asked about the rebounding. They harped about that on the broadcast. I thought Penn State tried to block out a lot. I think there were a couple of times they were underneath people and it made it uncomfortable for Illinois. That part of it kind of stunk. But overall, I have to give them credit because they know they were not going to outlast Illinois. The only way Penn State could beat them is out rebound them and get them in foul trouble, which obviously happened to one individual tonight. But they're just a better team, and it was boring. I'm sorry to say that. You see some of the comments, people were a little disappointed because it was a lackluster performance. And it's hard when you played against Ohio State, Tennessee, even though Ohio State's not great. They're a good Big Ten team. It stinks that they play to the level of their competition, but that's going to get you beat, and I don't want to see that. And I do think their defense have gotten a lot better. I think they've taken pride on the defensive end of the floor. I'm impressed with that part of it.
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you, I saw Stojakovic doing where he's using both hands kind of as pointers for his guy and for the ball so that he was in the right place when he was one pass and two passes removed. And to me, that at least shows he's concentrating on the defensive end. I thought he had a couple nice helps. And to me, you the only way you get a habit, way you change your behavior and start a habit is to, lock yourself in. And I thought he was doing his best to try to get that done. So by my way of thinking, the defense has improved. And of course you've got to keep it up because while Rutgers may not be having the greatest year, you and I have spent some time talking as we, talk during the week and stuff like that. We're both a little nervous that this Iowa team is better than what people think it is. And this was a coaching change that's made a big difference because if you have a coach who can coach and prioritize defense, Iowa doesn't look like the same team it's been for the last 15 years.
I want to talk about, if you don't mind, real quick about Andre. A lot of people, and I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to the listeners and to you. I'm really kind of irritated with people complaining about him passing the ball or not being a passer. They didn't bring him in to be a distributor. I'm really sorry. I don't want to. He doesn't shoot the ball every time he gets it. Yes, he's trying to make things happen, and he was much more aggressive when Keaton Wagler went out, which is what he should do. Colin Boswell became more aggressive when Keaton Wagler got in foul trouble. I don't agree with that. I don't want to see people keep texting me and telling me pass the ball. He does pass it. He doesn't shoot the ball every time he gets in, bring down the court. If the shot clock's running down, very few people are going to want to take a shot. I guess Kylan will and Keaton will. But for the most part, I'm not a fan of him. They didn't bring him in here to be a distributor. That's what they have Keaton Wagler and Petrovic and Kylan for. Now on the Iowa, we had a podcast and we were talking about this stretch of runs here. And, yes, you should beat Penn State. You should beat Rutgers. But I'm telling all the listeners out there right now, this is not the same Iowa team that you're going to be accustomed to. This is going to be a dogfight. They run really good stuff. They are physical. They guard. The coach is on the court guarding with them. He's not actually, but he's motivated for them to play defense. They're ranked, and they're ranked for a reason. They are going to be a tough out in Iowa City. If Illinois plays like they play tonight, they're going to get beat. If they need a full roster, they need a Tomislav, a Zonomir, Keaton. They need the whole roster because you're not going to Iowa City and beating them like you have in the past. This is a different team. I'm really sorry, but they are. They're very, very well coached. They run good stuff. They shoot it well. The big guys are strong and physical. This is a game where David really needs to step up to be that guy, and they're going to need Tomislav when they play in Iowa City. I'm just telling you, I watched them play enough, and I watched them play tonight. They just dismantled UCLA the first half. I stopped watching it, but this is going to be a game. Now, granted, Rutgers is first. You don't have to remind us that. We understand that. But looking at the schedule, this is not an easy win. This is why the loss at home to Nebraska stinks. I don't care how good they are. I don't care if they beat Michigan State at home last night. Illinois is a top 20 team that should not have lost at home. So going on the road, they get a win in Iowa City. To me, you eliminate that game against Nebraska at home.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, Kat, it looks like you have a brother in arms. Whoops, it switched on me. Hold on a second here. The refs made it an awful game to watch. My God.
I text Mike before the podcast, and I asked him nicely. I said, please make sure I don't say anything about the officiating because I'm going to tell you, I tried.
I'm not helping, am I?
No, you're not. But I'm going to – I tried, man. If you look at my Twitter post, that was the most – I'm just – first of all, I don't care if people get mad. I'm taking off my media hat. The worst officials in any sport is women's college basketball. They are the worst, number one. And I think the second is men's college basketball. That includes baseball. That includes football. That was horrible tonight. It was not fun to watch. Every trip down the court was a foul. And then at the end of the game, you knew Penn State was trying to go for the ball. Then they swallowed their damn whistle. Keaton Wagler's fourth foul, I kicked my chair. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, and it was the same high knee guy. I'm not going to mention his names. I'm not going to give him credit for it. It's just ridiculous. Yes, Illini fan, you give me some red meat, baby, because you knew I was hot. I'm telling you, I'm just really disappointed in that. So it was not a good game to call, for them to call. And then, how about the double dribble right in front of Brad Underwood's face? I don't know if anybody else caught that. Right in front of the face. And then they swallow. And then when you call them out on it, they get mad about it. Okay, I'm done. But Illini fan, that's okay. You gave me red meat, and I'm like a shark. I went after it, baby, because I'm telling you, that was awful tonight.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. The game wasn't particularly. Neither team got into a flow, and I don't think it was all the way. Nathan and I will disagree a little bit. I don't think it was all the way the refs. I thought the teams were having problems getting into a flow, and then the refs made it worse. So there's just some games, like I said, it is what it is.
I agree with Nathan Mike this time. I thought Illinois was on a roll. I'm sorry. I have to agree with Nathan because Keaton was on a roll, and then you took him out of it. Then Andre got in foul trouble. Penn State got in foul trouble. They couldn't be – and it wasn't that they screwed Illinois over. I'm not just saying it because it was
no, I agree with you.
Foul trouble. It was really bad on both ways. And, and I'm not a guy who believes in that. You've heard me say I don't believe – call it both ways. I think I'm not a fan of that. That was not a fun game to watch because I do think the officials took the flow of the game. They made it not fun to watch for me. And I sit here and I keep thinking, please, can you just not get mad at the officials? And then I don't know. It's a waste of time to talk about it because it's not going to change.
No, and the sad thing is, and we've talked about this for years, the sad thing is the Big Ten has a broadcast, sports for well over, and you can't tell me that from an expense standpoint, you couldn't pay these guys full time round. They could even work on their skills and train future refs, at big AAU events, work something out with the EYBL. You could do that, and they could get year-round training. They could get year-round coaching. They wouldn't have to balance a second job. And if you hired a few more, they wouldn't have to do 6 games a night. These refs are set up to fail in the system that they're in right now. They're exhausted.
Yes, Mike, you see the one game
you could do a fourth. You could do a fourth ref right there at the court to do the replay stuff. You could. Which, again, to me, there's just so many solutions to this, but it involves in looking at the referees as an investment in improving the product of your television show, not as an expense that we have to pay for. And it's shocking to me, it always is, how corporate America is willing to cut expenses that would really help in the long run, probably make them a lot more money.
Well, to me, I know they used to. I haven't seen it in the last year, but last 2 or 3 years, the officials would all get an iPad and they would go in at halftime. They didn't just get to sit there and chew bubble gum and take their shoes off to look at some of the calls. I think it's a requirement. One, I know they get graded. I know they get after each game. Yeah. But I think it's a requirement to look at what you see. Like we're talking about Illinois and Penn State, but I want to make a reference to the Illinois women's Maryland basketball game the other day. It was an accident, but there was a girl from Maryland slammed the ball on the court. It went higher than the backboard, and you never saw a call. 9 times out of 10, it's a technical foul. Whether she meant it or not, it's an accident. There was a call tonight in the game where I think Andre accidentally fell on someone, and it's an accident. And they got a foul call him. You got to call it. It's not that it was intentional. A foul's a foul. So to me, they can improve the game. The one thing I don't like, I don't want to hear coaches dictate games. Watching the first half from this point on, and at least in basketball, in the first half, those coaches are calling defensive fouls every time. And I'm going to tell you, Illinois does it. Brad doesn't do it. I don't understand that. I would be up. Shauna does it all the time. I'm sitting here thinking, and sometimes the coaches wouldn't call it. Watch the coaches yell and point, and then you see the official hand goes up. Tom Izzo is a master at it. Yeah. He gets every call. I'm telling you, he does. Second half's a little bit different because your team's on offense. So to me, if it's an offensive rebound, if it's defensive rebound, they're looking for calls. Officials should not let coaches do that to them. Call what you see. So I've said that before. It's not going to change, and you're right. You should invest into it, hold them accountable, and see what we see. See the game through the eyes of a fan, and you have to see it as also a worker because that's what you're paid to do. Every time you block a shot is not a foul. Every time you reach across somebody and you don't touch a hair on their leg is not a foul. And sometimes they anticipate it, and that's where I think they're tired and they do too much of it.
Yeah, and I will say, you talk about that bouncing the ball. We had a time, Muhammad Seymour, long time ago, where a guy literally got mad, threw the ball down so hard he spiked the basketball, it hit the roof of the gym. Gets called for a foul. The coach didn't see it, and we go over to the bench, and coach goes, "What'd you get a T for?" He goes, "I was just dribbling."
No,
That was
those are automatic though.
That was automatic T. It was great. The coach like, dribbling? You got a T for? He walked up to the referee. Goes, "You gave him a T for dribbling?" And the referee explained it. Coach just turned around and gave the evil stare to the guy who just dribbled. So anyway, as we look at this, I guess this game to me was a game where it was. I thought Merkovich played much better. Wagler again, 16 points when he had to get down to 20 minutes, which was nice because he's usually 38 to 40, but still ended up with 16, and he had to play a little tentative because he was worried about fouling. I thought he played well. I thought Stojakovic again had a decent one, and I thought Boswell, some of his, especially his baskets, were well timed. So, I do think having Merkovich kind of come back a little bit, and I don't know if it's something we're going to see where Merkovich just plays a little better when he's against guys who are a little less quick. I don't know if that's going to be the it or not.
That could be. You mentioned Keaton Wagler. I'm going to tell you, it's nice to see him get rebounds, to shoot the three so well, his up and under moves and attack the basket. But from a pure basketball standpoint, he did something tonight that proved to me, yes, he can play at the next level. There was guys you knew he was going to get trapped. Do you know how many times I've seen? I'm not going to mention players' names because I don't want to throw them to embarrass them. Guys, you know you're going to get trapped there in the 1-2-2 press, knowing that you're going to. This kid does exactly what a coach tells you to. Dribble into it, reverse dribble, and then as soon as they jump to you, you step through it. He got a foul out of it. He never panicked. That shows a sign to me. And even though he had his fourth foul, that was the first time I kind of showed him. I've seen him show some facial expression, but he's so calm, Mike. And it's hard for kids to get, when you're playing, you get sped up. And that's what happens a lot. And he didn't do that tonight. He never panicked. Illinois handled the press really well tonight against Penn State. If you have him in your backcourt, and there's not a lot of teams in the Big Ten that press, even though Alabama and those teams that, the SEC teams typically do, he just doesn't turn it over. I was impressed with his reverse dribble and then just the decision-making to make the right pass, to find the right guy. And, he's a special kid, man. He really is. And somebody made a comment, Nathan did, about Merkovich being a great passer. He has been. If you think about the start of the season, he was a much more willing passer than what he has been. So we know he's a good passer.
But we do. And to be honest with you, he's the biggest issue with Merkovich. I mean, he has a few passes that you're like, dude, you can't throw the cross-court pass quite like that. But his biggest issue is when he decides he's going to take the ball and put it on the ground when he gets a defensive rebound. When he does that, I mean, I would almost have a rule like, dude, you get a defensive rebound. If you don't outlet it within 3 seconds, I'm going to sit your butt down because that's when he gets into trouble. Notice here, live and die by Wagler. I think on some nights, I think that's really true. And I think that's where we're looking, to get Big T back feeling better. Because I do think if he starts to come back, I think this team's going to be really pretty tough because you look at, they had 4 guys in double digits tonight, and Big T didn't play particularly well, and Big Z didn't look for his shot. So I think there's some opportunity for this team to still improve, even though it's mid-season.
Coach Underwood mentioned that, and I'm glad you put that up on the screen. Brad Underwood mentioned that they haven't reached their ceiling yet, and maybe he is talking about Thomas Law. But I didn't want to admit it, but I think Fettigate is right. The offense looks different when he's out. And I remember going to media day. Brad Underwood talked to us about it, and then Colin Boswell talked about how well he is in the pick and roll game and how he can find guys. He's a master at it. He is. The offense looked different. I think there was a 4 or 5 minute stretch in the first half when he was on the bench where they didn't score. It's not just him scoring. He's able to find guys in position where they can score to get open looks. And so it's scary to think about a freshman that nobody kind of really, quote unquote, wanted is probably your most important person on the team because it's different when he's not playing. Very good. And also mentioned about Thomas Law being overweight, much slower. He is slower. You go back and watch him last year when I remember one of the best games I've seen him play when they played Xavier in the NCAA tournament. His pick and pop and his footwork was great. He just doesn't look the same right now to me at all.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, hopefully it's something that a little bit of rest will cure. Who knows? It's one of those things where you just want a player to be able to go out there and play to his best thing. And right now, for whatever reason, it doesn't look like it's quite going his direction. And I don't know. Overweight's hard to tell because these guys are on pretty tough diets, and I think Illinois the basketball program learned with McCamey. You don't let them get too much McDonald's anymore.
But there could be something, and we're never going to know.
Yeah.
We're not going to know until, and I respect the fact that the coaches are not putting it out there, and maybe we're wrong, and I do know this. He talked about getting bigger because he wasn't there last year, and it's tough because if he's not going to post up, he's never been a guy who's going to block shots, but it's always been frustrating to me to be as big as he is, to at least not make them think about it. He and his brother are like the typical kids that you have as a parent. You got one kid that's Mr. Nice Guy and one that's, Mr. Nasty, and that's what you see in both of them. I mean, Zonomir is just, I'll say this, he's a dog, and I love that about him. The game changes. I mean, he tries to go get rebounds. He tries to block shots, and Tommy could do it. He didn't do it last year, so it's not a weight thing. He didn't do that last year. But right now they need him. And I think there was a stretch in the second half. Zonomer got tired. I think that's why Brad took him out because he missed a three and then he missed a rebound once. But they're going to need him. It's really funny. I'm sorry. I just love watching guys after he blocks a shot and he throws one up into the rafters. Guys see him and then dribble right underneath the basket because that's what you want. I mean, those are game-changing factors because teams will shoot over the top of you, and it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, he's done it a number of times, so it's a great weapon to have. I just hope they can get on a roll here because there's some few teams in the Big Ten. I'm going to tell you, Michigan, Purdue, and Iowa, all those teams look really, really good to me.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a more challenging Big Ten season than people anticipated because I think Iowa turned out better than they thought. Michigan is light years better than people anticipated. Purdue and Michigan State are their typical selves. So, but when you add in, these other teams, I think that just surprised. And then Nebraska comes out of nowhere. We all knew that what's his face was a good coach, but now he's got a little bit higher grade of players there. So we're definitely in a time that it's going to be we definitely in a time it's going to be a more challenging race than what we thought it was going to be. So
it is. Michigan looks scary though. Oh my gosh, they look scary good.
Yeah.
You know what, people, Mike, I just wish people would just get a clue. If you don't want to come talk basketball, get off and go do something else. Go to the mall. Go shine some shoes. Go do something, but don't come on here just ruin a podcast because you want to be immature. It's really it's stupid to do that. There's so many other things in the world you could be doing. So, sorry.
Yeah, and then ultimately, the way I look at things, Underwood's got a few days here now until Thursday, so it gives them a little bit of a break. And I think you want to continue the defense, and also the other thing I think is too is they have been doing the extra pass a little more often on the offense. You keep that going. As we've said before, the offense sometimes aesthetically is not pleasing to people because it does lend itself to an awful lot of 3-point shots. At the same time, they get an awful lot of wide open ones. So you'd like to see the team hit more than 22% when you're getting that many open looks.
If I had a late Christmas gift, I really wish Andre was a 30% 3-point shooter. He's such a good player. The game would change for him if he was much more consistent. I know it's a whole new system, and it's something different for him to learn and to be a part of. But at the end of the day, he's on a different team, and his team is winning. He's been on a bunch of losing teams, but I just hope he can find that 3-point shot because teams are eventually going to give it to him. I mean, the scouting in the Big Ten we know is great, and I'll tell you one team I know is not going to guard him effectively will be Michigan State. So, I mean, when they play Michigan State, I hope if he doesn't want to shoot the 3 ball, he can take a few dribbles and just keep scoring because I think he's a great scorer. I thought Penn State did a really good job of trying to take off some of his lanes to getting to the basket. I thought they did a really good job on the scouting report against Illinois, to tell you the truth. They made it tough for Tomislav to get the ball in the post. I believe Nathan mentioned it here. Someone mentioned that he tried to post up, and they don't. And even when they throw the ball to him, and they double him, his reaction time is just so much slower right now. And it's sad, but it's kind of scary because he doesn't react as quick as he used to.
Yeah, and it's hard to know, what's going on there. Obviously, we'll find out at some point. I do think that the upcoming games, as you look at the schedule here, again, you've got Rutgers and then Iowa, Northwestern, Minnesota, and Maryland, and this is a back end schedule that gets really tough, and so they've got to get some wins here, and every one of these road wins is money in the bank. Now all Illinois has to do is play well at home. You get a few more road wins and defend your home stadium. But that's where I get a little nervous because historically in December and January, Illinois plays well one game on the road and then struggles at home.
Yes, they do. And that's why still to this day, the Nebraska, and I mentioned in the last podcast, USC last year, that it frustrates me. You can't do that. And I'm going to tell you, Penn State's going to get someone because somebody's going to come out. They're not going to play well. They're going to get in foul trouble. They're going to be somebody, pretty decent. We know how improved Northwestern is. Minnesota went up there and got a win tonight. You have to protect your home court. You just have to. I don't care who you're playing. Michigan's going to be tough. Do I think they're going to go undefeated? I think there's a chance Illinois can get them. I definitely think there's a chance Purdue can get them, and Michigan State. They're not unbeatable. Right now, they're playing great, but I think in the Big Ten, I think the coaching is so good. I think one or two nights, I don't think they're going to have 3 or 4 losses. I don't think that. But I think 1 or 2 teams can get them.
Yeah, you'll get them, and what will happen is if it's depending on how they got, it will be something that other teams then will try to pull off. I mean, that's the one thing that Big Ten coaches, they're really good. And like you said, once one team finds a weakness, man, it's like getting a virus. It spreads through the other coaches pretty quick. Any final thoughts as we kind of wrap this up here, Ked, for this Saturday night?
I like the rest that they're getting. This was a great win. I'm begging, and I'm really begging. I want to see Tomislav become healthy. This team will not reach his potential until I personally think he's healthy. He gives them something totally different from a pick and pop. Even though he's not a post player, Mike, teams have to go down. They'll guard him down there, and they have to. He will bring a post player away. If you start the game, if anybody in that court is 6'9" or taller, 2 guys, one of them is going to be guarding him. And I think he's just an important part of the offense. They need out of him every game at least 10 and 5 or 6 every night. And that should be the norm. Even if he doesn't Get field goals, get to the free throw line. And Dory, you are exactly right. Shauna is an awesome coach, and she runs really good stuff. You talk about a gauntlet coming up. They play Maryland New Year's Day. They play the 24th ranked Michigan State Spartans tomorrow. And then they play another ranked team, a top 20 team in Ohio State. So, but she has her team ready. So, sorry, I saw that comment. I want to comment on that.
Yeah, and then let's do a couple minutes here for people. One of the things that you see if you're an IlliniGuys.com member is we keep a pretty active list of who's on campus, who's visiting, who Illinois is looking at, and I'm speaking specifically of Portal Combat. And as we see what's going on there, one of the things that I think is really important is Illinois right now. You're not going to see Illinois as a general rule go after one of the top 3 to 5 players at any position, because then you're going up against, the big moneyed programs, the Ohio States, the Texas A&Ms, the LSUs, et cetera, who are willing to dump a ton of money. But Brett Bielema, being that he's probably a better football coach than a lot of these guys, is really good at identifying talent. So you may see them go for the number 9 quarterback or the number 10 running back, number 13, whatever. But as you look at the past, just remember that Luke Altmaier wasn't that highly sought. And remember how everybody said that Ryan Walters pulled one on his coach when he got Hudson Card, and, you had Luke Altmaier going to Illinois. And it turned out that Brett Bielema got the last laugh on that one when you look at what he did for the program versus what happened over at Purdue. So just don't expect that. Look to Illinois to try to find some value by getting guys who are moving up in the world. You don't have to pay as much for them. Yes, it's a little harder to know exactly who is going to be, play at that same level as they move up versus somebody who may not be able to do that. But if Illinois can get a guys who are good at their positions and spend a little less, that allows you maybe to spend a little bit more money on that quarterback or a little bit more money on a key position that you're looking to go after. And so I would expect Illinois to do some of that and then wait till the dust goes on the high priced folks and then find some good value in the portal. And folks, there's so many players in there. You just don't have to worry. It was a 4,000 or something. I mean, some unbelievable numbers in the portal right now. So you just don't have to worry about finding somebody to play. You just got to worry about picking the right one of a group of guys who all might want to come play. And right now, people want to come play for Illinois. Brett Bielema, he's won 2 bowls in the last year and 3 days. Got the most wins ever in back-to-back seasons by Illinois, and he has players going into the NFL. So Illinois' got people who want to be here, and they've got a good story to tell. It's just a matter of selecting the right ones and using your budget wisely. Ked?
Yeah, they have to be smart. And as of this morning, there was 3,100 people. I think I tweeted this morning. It was well over 3,000. But I know the number's rising. The scary thing about it is that Illinois will be able to find a quarterback. We know they need help on their offensive line. There's a lot of things. And some of the guys that left, I know it bothered some people. Sometimes it's just not a right fit, and it's time to move on. For guys who are older, I still struggle with it, but it's the day and age, it's the times. I mean, just a few years ago, each year, athletic director Josh Whitman, he has a media meeting with all of us. And, one of the things he bragged about a couple of years ago, all the transfers, Illinois didn't have one. This year, they're up to, I don't know, maybe 18, 19, or 20. But that's normal now. It's not that they're mad, they're kicking kids out. Sometimes it's not the right fit. Sometimes it's not the right fit for the kid. Some kids, I talked to one kid, and he just wanted a fresh start. It wasn't the end of the world, but it's the nature of the beast. And so getting used to having players for 4 years is tough. That's what makes Luke Altmaier so special, because he could have left. And he's a highly touted quarterback that stayed 3 years. So I think it's interesting. I hate to see players leave, but I understand it. But I'm also excited about the new possibilities that can come in. I think when they've used the transfer portal, they've been very successful at judging talent and bringing in the right guys to fit holes.
Yeah, and I think Brett Bielema is a guy who likes consistency. I think he'd prefer to have a guy there for 4 years and develop him and get him better. But at the same time, I mean, if one kid is targeted by a school it's really important to that school, you have to also make a decision and say, and for example, I don't know that Illinois needs to or wants to pay, 800,000 to $1 million for a kicker. And so, there's sometimes that you just tell a kid congratulations and you hope they're going to a better situation. But I look at it as the kids have the ability to move. And, I would look at it in my personal situation. If I had a chance to double my salary going somewhere else to do the exact same thing, you got to look at it.
Yes, you have
And
to.
it's literally when 3 out of 100 players makes it in the NFL, the fact that you can make, let's say you can make an extra, 100,000 a year, just 100,000 a year. That's 400 grand if you were to, transfer to 4 different schools to do it. But that extra 400 grand pays for a decent house somewhere, and I would love to have no mortgage at the age of 24.
No kidding.
So those are the things that I mean, I guess I look at it, if an adult had the same choices, they would make the same decisions, and I'm not certain that we should be too hard on the kids. And I'm not saying that we can't pay them, but what I am saying is sometimes there are guys that are targeted because of the fit. So Illinois will probably spend, 15 million or so on the roster next year. So I don't think they're going to be like a poor school, but there will be schools out there that may target guys with big offers. It is what it is. And then the other thing is there are kids like Luke Altmaier who made a choice. I don't have to have more money. Got a good deal from Illinois. He's not hurting.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt he could have got more money going somewhere else. And he looked at the big picture. And look, he's going to be, for the rest of his life, he's going to be loved by an Illinois football fans every time he steps foot in Champaign-Urbana. And look, we're 58, kid. We know what it's like. Luke doesn't know that yet, but when he's 58, he'll appreciate the decision he made.
Without a doubt. And I think what Fedigator is saying, and if I'm wrong, Mr. Fedigator, please let me know. He is right to a certain degree. Losing a player because you can't pay them, it's a decision, because you're right. Mike hit it right on the head. Do you want to spend that much money on a kicker? Teams are going to do that, but that tells you that you've done your job as a coach, and they're going to continue to go out and they're going to poach players. It happens, and I don't like it. But I know Illinois. I don't want to sit and say what they do or don't do. I guess that'd be unfair. But I will tell you this: it goes on in men's and women's basketball and in football. The transfer portal wasn't open, and there was kids calling coaches and making moves. You know what? Let's be transparent. It is what it is. And if you don't think these kids knew going into that bowl game that they were leaving, and they knew, some of the kids know where they're going already. It's just the social media part of it. The superficial, it's fake. You give them a couple of days, because I can tell you right now, and I won't do it on this air because that is unprofessional as hell. I'm 99.9% sure I know where David Allen's going, and about 4 or 5 of the other guys where they're going to go to school at already. So it stinks. Illinois is going to have to do their share, but I will tell you this: it's not my money. But if they want to stay where they are, if they want to stay away from the bottom half of the Big Ten, that $15 million, I don't know. To me personally, that's not enough. You're going to either have to hit that 20 million mark or 22 million mark if you want to continue to build a roster. Because like I've always said, facts is facts. Everybody has money. Why do you think the SEC is complaining? They have been doing this for years, and now that they find out the people in the Midwest have a few extra dollars or a few extra food stamps that they can give away to somebody, I'm sorry, but you see the difference. Look at Indiana. Look at Ohio State, Michigan. Look at where the national titles came from. Everybody's picking them to win. So before the Big Ten, they've had talent. Now everybody, and you look at the media market. I've said before, why, if you're a kid from California or from Florida, why wouldn't you want to play in the Big Ten? You're going to be on every TV network. You have your parents are going to see you play, whether they can afford a plane ticket or not. I mean, the Big Ten, it is attractive. And I'll tell you what, the SEC doesn't like it. I enjoy watching it, because I'm a Big Ten guy. They are freaking out because they're seeing a team like what Indiana did to Alabama. I'm not a big Kirk Cinetti fan. I'm just not. But he is an awesome football coach. And the Alabama fans are just calling, even the ones that aren't here with us, that are 6 feet underground, are calling. They're trying to get out of the grave because that hasn't happened to them before, especially to a school like Indiana.
Well, and look, I said weeks ago that Kalen DeBoer should go to Penn State because as soon as he loses, he's going to be evil. And of course, now you've got fans calling for his head, that he's ruined the program. He should have gotten out of there. I don't know that, these fans understand how rare a Nick Saban really is. And it may take him 3 or 4 coaches to get back to a guy who's even in the neighborhood of Nick Saban. And I don't think Kalen's a bad coach at all. I just don't know that the fan base has the patience to wait some time. And when you change over a program, culturally, it's going to be a little different when you go to a new head coach. And, like I said, that's where I think it's crazy. I do think a couple things. It scares me to see Michigan with Kyle Whittingham, who is a tough dude. I don't know if he'll be able to deal with the moral morass that is Michigan, because it seems to be a place where rules and anything that just doesn't matter. It's all anything goes there. But I think at Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh made it famous that if you have the talent on the offensive and defensive lines to go out and punch Ohio State in the face in the first quarter, they don't know how to handle it, at least under Ryan Day. And that's what Miami did the other night. They did the same thing. Kyle Whittingham's going to bring that back. And at some point, who knows, maybe Iowa gets a little bit better players. Illinois gets a little bit better players. But there's several coaches now in the Big Ten who are very content to play that type of ball.
They are. I will say this, Mike, before we get off the air. I want people to understand this. And you can put this part out there for coaches or whatever, how you want to do it. If you don't think kids from other schools, I always talk about the big three, the football program and men and women's basketball. If you don't think kids have contacted Illinois because they want to be here, sometimes the coaches don't want them. It doesn't fit. Sometimes it's not a roster spot for them. But I'm telling you right now, firsthand, I am 1,000%, 100%. I know there's no 1,000% sure. And I want people to know that there are kids that want to play basketball for Brad Underwood, Shauna Green, and play football for Brett Bielema. But sometimes if it's not a fit for them, if it's a roster spot like I just mentioned, or too many people at one position, they don't do it. If I had $1 for every time a person has said to me, kid, who is Shauna Green going after in for basketball? Here's what I like. And she's different than every coach. She's not going to recruit over her kids. She has the youngest team and one of the youngest teams in college basketball. She has one girl out who's a center, who's a 6'3", 6'4" center, probably would have started. Her name is Manuela Alves, and then they have a shooter on the bench. They are going to probably look to bring in another transfer or somebody like that. But why would you just continue to bring kids in and have kids sit? That's her philosophy. So I know kids reach out to me, hey, Kedrick, what do you think? Is it a possibility? Well, one, I don't get to make the call. Same with the men's program, with the football program. I mean, kids, other beat writers, hey, kid, I got a kid who wants to go here. I have a kid that left University of Illinois, who left Illinois, and asked me to call Iowa because he wants to play basketball at Iowa next year. So this is how I know. It does happen. We all talk, and we pass the information along, and then they do with it whatever they want.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, and that's the fun thing. So if you're IlliniGuys.com and you want to become a member, 27 cents a day, I would highly advise, give it a look. It's a great community, and the message boards are a lot of fun. And then you'll be on there where there's all sorts of tracking And to be honest, there's a lot of Illini guy members who are close to boosters or might even be boosters themselves. And that helps get inside news there. So you get a little bit of insight. I think Illinois will be fine. I think they're going to get a quarterback that they like. I think you're looking at a 1-year handoff so that they could hand it to Carson Boyd after that. I think they're also have got some really good opportunities at the offensive line that they've got coming into town, some good wide receivers. I think you'll see good safeties. I mean, there's quite a bit of talent coming through, and the Fighting Illini will be fine. I think a big key to that is you got a very good coaching staff that knows how to develop players, and they have an eye for talent that they don't have to rely on, oh, this guy's a 5-star, so we have to pay for him. They can look at it and say, you know what, that guy's a 2-star, but he'll play like a 4, and that's what Illinois does really well. So with that, folks, we will be back. Give us a few days. We're actually going to catch our breath a little bit. But as you can see, Thursday night, the same night as the first night of the CFP, we will be on. So we'll probably, I got to be honest, we're football holics too. So we'll have Illinois and Rutgers on one screen. We'll have the playoff game on the other screen as we are watching both and taking notes. It will be a very fun evening and leading into Friday night. And it's kind of funny, but for the first time ever in my life, Ken, I think I'm spending more time watching college football than I am the NFL.
I know it's interesting. It's a good group of teams. The storylines behind it is great, and I'm just glad the Big Ten is there. And I love the drama with the Big Ten and SEC. That's probably my favorite thing. Before I fall asleep at night, I go look on message boards and I just go look to find stuff to hear what they have to say because it's been years. So, but anyway, I know we have to wrap it up. I just really enjoy the fact that the Big Ten is flexing its muscle, and Indiana's a good, whether you like the school or the team or coach or not, it's a good story.
Yep. Totally agree. So we will be back on Thursday. We will obviously break in if we have portal news or anything like that earlier than that. But until then, go Illini.